Running towards adversity or sprinting towards the championship? Welcome to Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast. Evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Monday, Ipswich Town podcast. For a strange show, really, we're going to amalgamate a few. We've got a Frankenstein's monster of all your favourite Blue Monday shows and the Rewind show. So we'll have the Flagship going over last night. We've got a bit of Seb here as well for a preview of Monday's FA Cup match at Forest, and then I'll quiz Dave about what's number one in the charts at the moment. Don't look it up, Dave. So yes, hello. Thank you to everyone who's in the chat. There's a lot of chat going on. I may or may not get round to it at the moment. Unfortunately, when Ben hosts, he has his own private personal assistant in the background putting up comments here and there, whereas I don't, and I can just about manage to work a mic, let alone a mouse and bits and pieces like that. Joining me this evening, two gentlemen, one whom was getting wet with me at Manchester. Seb, how are you getting on?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Just about dried out after the 15 to 20 minutes of queuing to get inside before the world's longest ever padding down. So just about dried out now. Yeah, not still 24 hours on. It still hurts a little bit, doesn't it? That result.
The padding down hurts, does it? They were thorough.
Well, somebody in front of me dropped a bag of Colombian's finest just as I got to the front of the queue, which made 3 police dogs run over, and I had then to be taken for a secondary search after I'd been queued up in the rain and had the initial search. So that was a fun way to start the evening. I should have known then it was going to be a bad evening, shouldn't I? That was that wasn't the funnest way to start the night.
Okay, Dave, do you want to follow that? Was there any Colombian marching powder in and around your vicinity yet sitting at home watching it on the sofa?
Not round Rushmere last night. No, not that I'm aware of anywhere. No, not that I'm aware of. Sat on my couch suffering with a beer watching it. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Suffering at times. Yeah.
Yeah, well, certainly suffering for maybe the second 45, 48, 49 minutes or so. So hello to everyone in the chat. Please get it going, and as and when I can get round to it, I certainly will try to do so. But we shall shoot off to Old Trafford, which I did myself via Timperley. Dave, question for you: which global superstar's statue is situated in Timperley?
Where the hell is Timperley?
Bit rude, mate. It's sort of Altrincham way. Just south of Manchester. I had my photo taken with the statue, if that's any help. I haven't got it with me, so I can't put it up.
I have absolutely no clue whatsoever.
Seb?
Absolutely no idea.
It was Frank Sidebottom.
Okay. Yeah. Global superstar, a bit loose, but yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In terms of the lineups, let me get them on the screen. Town, we made 2 changes to the Spurs game. Morsey came back in the centre in place of Phillips, who picked up a strain of some sort, calf, I believe. Ben Godfrey disappeared out of the squad completely. Seb, replaced by former Red Devil Axel Twanzebe. And the willowy attacking just behind Delap, the 3 behind him remained in place. Was anything there that was a surprise for yourself?
No, I think we always knew that Twanzebe was going to come straight back in, wasn't he? Ben Godfrey hooked at half-time against Spurs, and, Twanzebe has made that role his own. We're so solid when he slots in at that right-sided centre-back role. So absolutely no surprise to see him come in. I guess we were all happy to see Kiyust in the middle of the park. We were all feared the worst after the Spurs game with him and Phillips getting subbed off and McKenna kind of teased a little bit in the pre-match presser, didn't he, saying that they're not too serious, but we'll have to wait and see. And I kind of did expect a Morsey and Taylor, or get the bang back together, Morsey and Luongo, central midfield at Old Trafford. So good to see Karius come back in. And then, yeah, the three behind the striker. I guess the only, probably, I think me and Rich, we completely forgot on the Man United pre-match that we did on Monday night. We completely forgot about Sammy Smodic. And after we'd recorded, I suddenly remembered, and I thought maybe being an away game, haven't seen him for a few weeks, kind of an elder statesman compared to the youths that are on the screen there. I wouldn't have been surprised to see him come in. We'll discuss his eventual substitution later on in the game. But yeah, no surprise, Amari in the 10. Jack Clark got the assist, obviously, at the weekend against Spurs, so probably deserved to keep his space there. And Philogene, who, had scored 2 goals and got 9.1 there on whatever the rating is for there, which is, a surprise, I would suggest. But yeah, not too many surprises, and a plus that Karius was available.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, as you say, it was good to see him, especially after he was struggling at Spurs. In terms of Manchester United, Dave, they're now infamous, should we say, 3-4-3. Any names in there particular that you were looking forward to watching play? Maybe their Danish left wing back.
It's just meh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man United, it really is. I mean, look, we'll follow this narrative through the show tonight, but it really, okay, you've got Onana, who we know is other than when he plays at Portman Road, is a bit of a walk-in disaster. Obviously Maguire, incredibly experienced. Fernandes is the class, where you love him, like him or not, as a class player. Garnacho was I found that. Obviously, the reason for it, we'll get to that. Garnacho was quite an odd substitution, I thought, for them last night. An odd choice, perhaps, at the time. But Hoyland, Xerxes, they're all a bit, really.
They're all a bit expensive.
Well, they're all a bit expensive and all a bit crap, aren't they? So what? Hoyland hasn't scored a goal for, is that 17 games now after last night, something like that? It's. Yeah, you look at that United side and you compare it, obviously, different eras, but you compare it with some of United sides of the past, and it's just nowhere near, is it? Christ, yeah. Collins just said worst United side since they were relegated, probably in 50 odd years ago. He's probably right.
Yeah, that's right. And there was an article today on The Athletic, actually. Where would United be without Fernandes? And I think it's a very valid point. They'd be even lower. Everything goes through him.
Yeah.
Defensively, he's getting back. Everything attacking goes through him. Set pieces is all him. Yeah. As we found out last night. In terms of the match, Seb, we got off to a decent start, didn't we? The rain was falling, but we got right at them from literally the first 30 seconds of the game, didn't we? And it didn't take too much longer from that to get ourselves into the lead.
Yeah, it was a bit like the Spurs game at the weekend, wasn't it? We kind of came out the blocks really, really quickly. Delap put one wide after probably less than a minute of play, didn't he? And that was an encouraging start. And then obviously, the big moment, what we didn't do against Spurs, obviously, Delap put that one wide. He hit the post. We couldn't get that crucial breakthrough. But it was the opposite last night, and it's a long ball forward from Morsey into kind of their left-hand channel. We know the wing backs. We've discussed at length about the Amorim system and how he wants to line up. And Dorgu is running back towards goal. And if you look at the replay, his eyes are firmly on the ball, and for some weird reason, Onana comes rushing out. Dorgu doesn't seem to glance at him once, and just about gets a little flick on the ball, which Onana is in completely the wrong place. Jadon Philogene will never score an easier goal. He runs through, just takes his time to make it horrible weather conditions and side foots it home, and a brilliant start. And we'll go absolutely nuts. The crowd, if you watch the replay, you can sort of see 50,000 hands go on their heads straight away as soon as the touch is made by Dorgu. And we've spoken about this United side, how poor they are, how they do concede goals, and how they've made defensive errors. And like you said a minute ago, we had the amazing Onana at Portman Road, saving everything from Leon Delap, and last night was a complete gift the other way. So a brilliant start, great from Philogene making the run, decent ball forward from Morsey, mistake from United, crowd not impressed, we go nuts, and you think, right, here we go. Suddenly, it's all back on again.
Yeah, that's right. It was a brilliant start. But Dave, did we make the most of our brilliant start?
Didn't. No, we kind of got passive. Then when this is a thread right through the game, I just felt we got a bit passive and safe. And obviously the crowd were, even after 4 minutes, you couldn't really tell from the TV, but you assume if the crowd aren't on their backs, they're certainly quiet and anxious. We just didn't do enough, did we? I didn't think in that intervening period. I just didn't. It was too safe, wasn't it? All a bit safe, and I can't really Did we create anything for the next? What was it till they scored 20 minutes, whatever it was? Did we create? I can't really recall. The game was really a nothing game, wasn't it? At 1-0, 1-0 up. To be fair, I think this is a recurring theme, but Palmer made a really good save from a Maguire header from a corner. More of that later. Really good save, pushed it away to his left. But other than that, we were comfortable. But yeah, we could have gone for the jugular, and I felt we really could have done. We didn't.
Yeah. As you said, and it was pretty evident from where we were said. We just all of a sudden just dropped deep, didn't we? And Morsey was sat right in front of the back four, and we didn't seem to know what we'd scored sort of too early. We didn't seem to know whether to stick or twist. We just got stuck.
You're right. It always was. Now what do we do? Christ, hang on. This was not in the script. It was almost like that. You're right. Yeah.
But we conceded a free kick, and it's not the first one of the first free kicks we'd conceded in the match, was it, Dave? I think some people said it was harsh, but you've seen them given.
Yeah, it's a little bit clumsy. Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, he does catch him. And I said to my boy, I said, I was watching my lad. I said, look, if Fernandez class, if he puts this in the right place with pace, this is trouble. And he did. It was a good ball. It's a funny one because he didn't try and sort of bend it. It was almost he went for the far corner, but it's always one a knuckleball, wasn't he? Tried Ronaldo type knuckleball, and it's so hard to defend. He got it just right. And yeah, Morsey, it's obviously a bit of jostling in the box. I think I can't recall who the United player who misses it first, but yeah, Morsey's off balance, just hits him, and there's no chance of defending that. It's just too good. The delivery's too good. You can't defend that unless you get obviously the first ball. You ain't defending that.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, when you see the replay from behind, you can see exactly that it is the ball sort of just floats towards the goal rather than spins. It's good delivery. And so, as you say, unfortunately, it was one of our players in the way. And it wasn't too much longer said that we give away another set piece and see a similar result.
Yeah, this one's Philogene, isn't it? So Philogene is kind of running back, decent tracking back, and he puts it behind for a corner. And then obviously it's Fernandez again. You know the quality of delivery. You know what's about to come. And yeah, this one's just so frustrating because, Palmer makes two really decent saves. But the frustration thing is the ball comes in and they've got two men at the back post when Maguire gets the initial contact on it. I think it's Højlund is there as well. So if Maguire doesn't make it, Højlund does. Decent save from Palmer. And then Dalot kind of puts it back in. And we're just kind of a bit slow to react, aren't we? Another great save by Palmer who gets down, but pushes it not necessarily back into the danger zone. It's all he can really do because of the kind of time he's got to get down. And then De Ligt's kind of sliding in before Karius can kind of get ahead of him or get a block on it, and he fires it into the roof of the net. And then you're kind of thinking, aren't you? Started so well, went into our shell, like you guys just said, played safe, and now all of a sudden we're behind, and they've created nothing at all from open play. We had the warning with the Maguire header that Palmer pushed around the post before the equalising goal, and suddenly you find yourselves kind of 2-1 down, two set pieces. It's been a bit of a kind of a nothing game in terms of build-up play and that kind of stuff, and yeah, just really frustrating because on the whole, our defensive set pieces have been all right this season, haven't they? But last night, really, really poor. And the fact that Maguire and I'm sure it was Højlund could have had, each could have had a stab at the proverbial cherry was really irritating.
I think someone said in the Telegram group today that we tripled our set piece goals conceded in that one game, hadn't we? We'd been before that, Dave. We'd been almost top of the league, second or third in the league in terms of conceding set pieces.
Yeah, I think we conceded 3 up till last night. I mean, we just find ways, don't we? We find new ways. Now we've got a secure goalkeeper. So all these goals that have gone in the last 2 or 3 games, none of them on the keeper at all. No. But we find other ways of conceding. You just couldn't make it up, could you really?
Yeah, that's right. Well, very possibly someone who might have headed it away was doing lengths of Old Trafford with the coaches before the game, maybe.
Yeah, there was.
I mean, in terms of defending, I thought what, as you said at the beginning, Seb, when we were talking about the lineups, Tuanzebe was defending very, very well, wasn't he? In his one-on-ones down that right hand side, and you could see. I know Joe mentions it a lot about the right back being a very, very difficult position to play in our system, but he was handling it very well, wasn't he, last night in that first half?
Really well, and they put in the crunching challenge, slide challenge, didn't you? Was it Garnacho who was lining up to shoot right on the edge of the box? And he just makes such a big difference to it because you feel, really confident that if there's a one-on-one or if they look to get him behind, the recovery pace that he's got, he will get you out of trouble. And yeah, he slotted back in effortlessly and looked looked so good, which is why, it's so frustrating, because they were creating nothing from open play. We were defending pretty well from that, and it's just so frustrating to give away 2 goals from set pieces. Yes, Fernandez's quality. Yes, the delivery both times was really decent, but this is one of, as you said, one of the poorest United sides we've seen, creating nothing from open play. So to gift them those goals after we were given a gift from the United keeper was so frustrating and so poor. And yeah, at that point, 2-1 down, you're kind of thinking, right, we need to go again and look to start. We need a bit of luck. And yeah, spoiler alert, we get 2 more pieces before the end of the half.
Yeah, speaking of gifts that Seb's referring to there, Dave, we got one, although it could have been a ridiculously painful one for Amari Hutchinson, couldn't it? Had his studs been maybe a little bit more firmly placed in the ground.
Yeah, when you see it on the TV in real time in the TV, it didn't look. Well, that's a hard tackle, and he's down. But wow, this is when then you see it back on the angles. Holy crap! How did it take so long? How the hell did it take VAR so long? It almost got to the point. Thought he's not even going to book it. I'm not even sure he blew up for a foul initially. I'm not even.
No, he
sure
gave a throw in. Yeah, he gave a throw in.
I'm not sure he did. I mean,
yeah.
So look, for once, VAR. I mean, once you see it back, it's clear. And I honestly, I thought if this doesn't get a red, I'm done with it. I was ready to switch off and walk away at that point, honestly. But it did, and quite rightly deserved a red. And then for once, we did sort of grasp the initiative again. Another bit of a comedy goal from Philogene. 2 strange goals really last night, where he gets the ball wide right, sort of changes his feet, cuts inside a bit, gets on his left foot, just swings in that's a bit of a meh ball as well. There's not a lot of pace to it, but it's in a good direction, I suppose, looking for that run of Delap. And clearly Delap distracts. Well, they need to distract Onana. Very similar to Muric at Brentford, isn't it? It's one of those where it just the keeper's unbalanced, thinks the forward's going to get a touch. He doesn't. And lovely, nestles in the far corner just before half time. Happy days. Second half, they're down to 10 men. Here we go.
100%, Dave, and that is 100% the feeling in the crowd, certainly around me, and I'm sure it was around you as well, Seb, is that this is our chance now. Wolves had lost the night before. We cannot ask for it. We've got the momentum now. The goalkeeper's shot to pieces. It's wet. We're playing against 10 men. This second half is now going to be a bit of a barnstormer. We're going to go at their throats. He's going to be raining shots and crosses onto the goal and into the box. So your thoughts at half-time, Seb, were pretty positive, I thought.
Absolutely. We've bemoaned so many times this season. We never get, oppositions having meltdowns and red cards against us. We never get defensive howlers giving us relatively easy goals, and they all come along at once last night. And 2-2 at half time. They made a sub straight away, took Garnacho off for Mazwari, who went to the right, and Dallo switched across. And you're kind of thinking, well, that's good, because Garnacho had looked lively. He threw himself down a few times, but he had looked lively in that opening period. So you're kind of thinking, well, they just lost one of their ball carriers up the pitch, so that's encouraging. And all around us at halftime, the chat was, let's see what we can do now. We'll never get a better chance to win at Old Trafford for the first time in God knows how long, 40 years or whatever it's been. So the important thing, having given away 2 set pieces leading to 2 goals, was for the first few minutes of the second half, just keep it tight, don't do anything silly, use the spare man advantage, go wide, come back centre, and make that extra man kind of count by spreading the play. Instead, Leif Davis gives away a corner, obviously. Bruno Fernandes again whips it in, and this is the worst of the lot, isn't it? He doesn't even have to jump and get off the ground. He kind of starts his run. Harry Maguire starts his run from outside the kind of the central, the penalty spot. Is Kiyus meant to be picking up? Is Philogene meant to be picking him up? I don't know. He just stoops in, scores, and within 2-3 minutes of the second half starting, you're 3-2 down to another set piece. And even then, I guess you're thinking, okay, there's still a long time to go in this game. We can still look to make our extra man count. But that was an awful set piece. You know, the marking was really poor, and straight away United's kind of fans are up. You know, Maguire's knee sliding towards the fans, and the crowd are starting to get up. And yeah, you're kind of thinking this is for a side that, as we've said, is pretty solid defending set pieces. Complete meltdown last night. And I was thinking, do you remember like last year we would see Edmondson come in for specific games? Do you remember Hull was one with Delap, and I think Plymouth was one with Morgan Whittaker? Yeah. Surely, you know, everyone knows Harry Maguire is absolutely excellent in the air from set pieces. Okay, he's not quick on the ground, and if you get him behind him, he's never going to catch you. But surely, if you think you're going to be facing, you know, set piece threat, was it not the night for someone like a Cameron Burgess to just get his head on everything and, you know, provide a bit more physicality at the back? I don't know, but yeah, 3-2 down. The crowd are now up a little bit. They feel incensed by the ref, maybe because of the red card, but you're still thinking there's a bit of time to go. We'll see what the team is made of now for the remaining 42, 43 minutes. But spoiler alert, nothing really happened, did it?
I think just going back to the goal, I think the fact that Philogene ends up the closest to him when he puts it in is a bit of a misnomer. He couldn't have been designated. It wouldn't have been Philogene.
It must be Kayuse, mustn't it? From the way you see it, yeah.
He runs off Kayuse, and kind of Philogene kind of gets in his way a little bit if you look at it. But it's such a terrible, terrible goal to concede. It really is. And he said it's an outswinger as well. Yeah. In hindsight, you're right, Seb. I think hindsight, if ever there was a game perhaps for Burgess to deal purely with that, that was probably that was certainly, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, but that's probably the game.
And as you sort of allude to there, Seb, it's belief, isn't it? And it's a two-way thing. The belief is now with the Old Trafford crowd, and the belief is now with their, as you say, one thing they can do as a team is sit back and sort of be relatively solid. If they don't have to worry about attacking, they're sort of all right. But it just gives their fans must have thought exactly the opposite to us at half-time. Oh, balls, we're down to 10 men. Our goalkeeper's having a nightmare. This team has just scored just before half-time. They're going to have momentum now going into the second half. And within, whatever it was, 2 minutes, it's just been blown completely out of the water. And our belief, not necessarily from the fans, but on the pitch, you sort of got the inkling that what can we do? We're not going to claw this back, and that's sort of just how it transpired. And as you say, nothing really happened in the second half. Kayuste, well, certainly in our attacking, it didn't. Kayuste got a crossing, didn't he? But that was there was no one there to tap it in. They were having more chances on the break than we were having chances going forward.
That was a difference there when Kayuste. That was a nice bit of play, I think, with Clark. Was it who played him in? Could have been Davies. I can't remember. That was the best bit of play. Really good bit of play. Go back 3 or 4 days. Go back 3 or 4 days to Portman Road. So that's the difference. Son in that position puts his identical ball there, and obviously Delap unfortunately is caught between the two. So he's kind of wanting to go to the near post where he's been brilliant and flicked balls in the far corner, which he's done more than 2 or 3 times. You know, obviously against Villa, Brentford. And he's stuck on his heels, and it's just away from Philogene. It's a great ball, very identical, very reminiscent of Saturday and Son to Johnson, isn't it? Difference is Johnson was on the line, just bundling it in.
Yeah, point here from David actually about passes. We did gave the ball away a lot, unforced errors, but when it wasn't as if we were giving away the passes by virtue of making extravagant or really tricky through balls or trying to create. It was just in open play, we were just quite sloppy.
I know we haven't seen much of him because of the injury, but I think there was a game for Enciso last night to get the ball, turn and drive it, and that's his game. You know what? You've seen him at Brighton, you've seen him in the little bits and pieces he played for, even in the Southampton game. Get the ball on the half turn and absolutely drive. And kind of with a sort of little nod at him to lap with his head up as well, which is another point I'd like to perhaps make a bit later. But I think he was a miss also last night, and it was just so as I said, use that word in the first half, just so passive, wasn't it? You know, playing from side to side. They were in a tight unit. We weren't really looking like getting around the side of them. It got to Philogene, a few step overs, but when he did get the ball in, quality of balls were pretty bad, pretty poor. It was just nothing. We spoke about it last season, and at times this season, McKenna's spoken about it being brave on the ball. No one was prepared to. No one was prepared to last night.
It was all safe and so slow, wasn't it? And even on the few times that United kind of got forward and would either fizz a ball across the 6-yard box or have a shot and stuff, they've kind of committed like Fernandez and maybe one of the fullbacks and one of the strikers to that. Suddenly it's gone behind, but we're still slowing the pace down. Poor Leif Davis must have made 2 or 3 runs in the second half where, we could look to hit quickly on the break. And there was clearly a tactical idea to keep going right because the ball always seemed to end up with Tuan Zabi or Philogene. But it was just so slow. Everything was slow, ponderous, so slow. I don't know if they just didn't know what to do, didn't have any ideas. I don't know if that's tactical from McKenna. I'm assuming it must be he's the one who's going to be giving the players instructions and to, the slow build-up play, the slow tempo, keep the ball, move it around slowly must have been some sort of tactic. But, it just went on for kind of 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and nothing really changed. I know we made a couple of changes and, we got Hurst and Delap on the pitch for probably the first. Has it happened yet this season? I don't know. Maybe the first time this season. But you've got 2 kind of physical, biggish strikers, but we're still not putting any crosses in. So what's the point? It was it just completely petered out.
And for all their, for all Man United's issues, they're good enough to stay structured in that formation at the back, and what if you call it a low block, whatever. And well, quite more than happy for us to pass in front of them. Lovely.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah,
odd. And concerning, you mentioned subs, Seb, not a single sub made an iota of difference to it, did they? I know Taylor had a shot, but that sort of skewed off his foot and went wide. Broadhead barely got a touch of the ball, did he? Hurst was on the pitch, but he has played with Delap, but similarly, I can't think what game it was. Maybe Leicester, possibly. Was he fit by then? But I remember that game, they were both on the pitch, but I don't think either of them had a touch of the ball when they were both on the pitch. We just did not know what to do with 2 strikers on the pitch. And sort of, as you say there, Dave, in terms of passiveness and slow, we just haven't got any chaos in us, have we? Do you know what I mean? Just to... do something out of the ordinary, lump it in the box to 2 big blokes and see what happens. It'll fall to someone.
I think Enciso would have been that chaos player, not obviously to get on the end or anything in the box like that, but that would have just, I think, suited him down to the ground that game last night. And yet again this season, we're just robbed of that.
Yeah. In terms of the second half, I did take a screenshot of the stats. Sorry, Seb, to cover your face, but the second half stats, 72% possession for ourselves, understandably. 1 shot on target, which was, I think, Philogene, a bit of a P-roller, which Onana threw his hat on.
Probably Liverpool didn't even have that in the 5-0 the other season. It probably wasn't that great, was it? I mean, you need to put that in perspective of where the passes were made.
Yeah, and fouls committed. We committed 8 fouls, but I thought it would have been double that amount of fouls. We just seemed to, whatever momentum we got, we were so naive in terms of allowing Manchester United to make the second half just bitty. There was no flow to it, was there? We couldn't get any momentum going. Not that we were particularly,
I don't know about you guys, but for me, the most frustrating 45 minutes of the whole season so far.
Yeah,
even including Southampton. All those, Man City, it was just different class, just outclassed, Liverpool, whatever. Easily the most frustrating, just watching it. You think, Jesus, man, have a go,
Because of the chance that we were in, the situation we found ourselves in, because, 10 men, goalkeeper on a complete wobble, awful weather conditions, edgy crowd, manager not starting great there. It was all there for us to take advantage of.
He had 1 save, didn't we? I think Philogene cut in and a left foot, which just fell on, really, didn't he? That was it. Yeah,
and you got the feeling. I was chatting before my son fell asleep around about the M6 to let me do the rest of the journey by myself. There's probably, if the 16 other teams in the Premier League had found themselves in that position, they'd have gone for Man U last night, and they'd have made sure that they won that game. I think it's probably only the teams that we find below us and ourselves that either wouldn't or couldn't do it.
And I think we should mention Sammy Smolik, surely the strangest substitution of the whole season so far. Do you think that one? That was
bizarre, wasn't it, to leave it so late?
Linked to some appearance thing or any? That's the only thing I can think of. What? Why? Odd. Really odd.
Was he on the bench for Spurs at the weekend, or was he?
Out the squad?
He was. He didn't come on, did he? Or did he come on? I can't remember. But
don't think he did.
I don't know if he's not fully fit again. If they've got concerns about his kind of his sports science stuff, I don't know, but yeah, you've got your second top scorer on the bench there. He's shown he can score goals in the Premier League. He's a pest. He will chase people down. He'll probably leave one on one of the centre halves at some point. He's a streetwise kind of footballer, and yeah, to not use him was really, really strange.
Yeah. Delap was a bit frustrating last night, wasn't he? He was a bit.
I know.
He plays with his head down.
Yeah.
So annoying. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. What a player he's been. What a player he will be. Absolutely unbelievable. He's had an unbelievable season for us, and he'll go, and we'll get a great return on him. But wow, he can't. And I appreciate he's up there on his own, to be fair. But you just look at the boys. Get your head up, and he can play like that. I remember the Man United game at home where he turns, he spins, does it? He runs towards goal, gets his head up, plays in. Was it Burns or someone wide? And when Onana makes the save, the point blank save when the ball comes in, so he's got that. But he's just. Yeah, 2 or 3 times. And he did it Saturday a few times as well. He gets the ball, spins his man, brilliant. Just his head is down.
You say he was frustrating. He was also frustrated. And if you could have put any money on one of our players getting booked towards the end of that game, it was going to be.
I don't know. It shouldn't be a criticism. Sure, there's just an observation on how he plays. Look, he's up there on his own, for God's sake, carrying the team on his own. But yeah, it can be. It must be a bit frustrating to play with him sometimes. But if you're playing with him, but yeah, I think it's just last night as a whole. You're just looking for issues, really.
Yeah, unfortunately, the comments in the chat are exactly the same. There's just frustration about why we're so slow. Words that you guys have used: tepid, pedestrian. I just don't. We seem to be getting worse during the course of the season, and certainly since the turn of the year. After that Chelsea result, our results and our goals conceded are ridiculous. 24 goals in 8 league games we've conceded since then. You're not going to win many games of football if you're conceding 3 goals per game. I appreciate we've got a couple of outliers in there which knock the average up, but the point still stands.
The worrying thing about they're all sorts of different goals as well, are they? You can't really. I mean, last night set pieces, but that's not been a thing before. Other games, you're looking at the goalkeeper, and yeah, you seem to get one thing right, and then certainly with the goalkeeper again, I thought last night certainly no fault. I thought he had a good game. No, what he had to do, he did really well. No fault at all attached to him. Just frustrating, really.
Point here, Seb, from Rob. Another game where we didn't show up for the second half, and talk about goals not having a common theme. What has been a common theme is just not really getting into any sort of stride for the second half of matches.
Yeah, we seem to we kind of run our race, I guess. I don't know if it's tactical, if it's fitness. We would see in the Championship, it would get to 60 minutes and League One, and McKenna would be changing, 3 out of the front kind of 4, and we'd keep those energy levels up in the press. But this year, we just look either devoid of ideas in the second half, or we can't get going. And yes, okay, sometimes when you're playing the likes of Liverpool and Spurs really well, shutting the game down in the second half last weekend, that can happen when you're playing at this level. But yeah, the drop off of second half performances is alarming.
Someone made a good point there. I mean, how well we started against Villa, and I think pretty much against Villa, a little bit backs to the wall, but you kind of carried that a bit into the second half, I think. But yeah, last night was the worst.
It is strange, and we will never know if it's a belief thing, if it's a physicality thing, but we just don't seem to now have that. I said it before, and someone in the crowd screamed it at the top of their voice during that second half. Run towards adversity, as we were padding it around the back, and having in that little corner where Twanzebe and Philogene found themselves passing it back and forth for pass upon pass upon pass. But yeah, sadly, that's all she wrote. We've spoken quite a lot about a second half in which absolutely nothing happened. Somewhat disingenuous, I think, sort of McKenna after the match. He mentioned, it's the textbook. It's difficult to play against 10. Aston Villa struggled against us. Well, our goalkeeper was man of the match in that game. Onana was not man of the match in that game yesterday, was he?
Anyone come out of it at all with any credit last night, you think?
Kieran, I thought, was probably
yes.
our best player. He's just
Yeah.
positive with the ball, isn't he? You know, he
Yeah,
gets on the ball. There was space in that United midfield in the first half because Fernandes would drop so deep to pick the ball up. He's basically playing in the back line, and that left big gaps in central midfield where Ugarte was trying to cover. And a few times, Kiyus was the positive, would get on the ball, look to get us forward and drive. But obviously, the problem with Kiyus is he struggles to do the 90 minutes, and he does drop away in the second half sometimes. But he was the plus point, and apart from that, there weren't really
I agree.
many others.
He just hasn't got that eye for goal, has he? You know, there was that one in the first half where he picked it up and drove. He must have run 40 yards, almost to the edge of that box. Just get out of your feet, have a go, and he gets dispossessed, and it's done. But I thought he was probably the pick as well last night. Super looking player, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. But as you say, Seb just can't manage 90 minutes, and people have been calling, can we get him for the championship? Well, crikey, if he can't manage game after a Saturday to a Saturday, he's certainly not going to be managing a Mick McCarthy Saturday, Tuesday. Right, a quick look at the table. There you go. Fill your boots. Right, that's gone again. In terms of the second half of the show, we're going to have a quick chat. We're going to throw over to Seb in the main because we're going to have a preview of the FA Cup game at Forest. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Super stuff. Thank you, Mikey. Also, thanks to our friends at One Stop Badges. I believe there's still an offer on if you require any of their services. The discount code or the link will be in the pod description. One of us here helped in the recording of the 900th episode of the pod. Dave was there with Joe and Ben and Rich to have a quick catch up on all things pod. And that went out to our Telegram subscribers, but I believe Rich is going to push that out for the general public, so you could be able to fill your boots on that. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Ben, I believe, is going to be doing a watch along on Monday evening, and some of us will be up in Nottingham watching the FA Cup game. So if you can't manage to make it or didn't manage to get a ticket, Ben will be doing that on his own, potentially on our channel, but certainly on his. And then next week, we are sort of back to our normal routine. So Seb and Rich will be back for preview shows, and there'll be guys will be back for flagship shows as we say goodbye to the FA Cup and hello again to the Premier League. In terms of the Forest game, we're going to have a little rewind snapshot here, Dave, and we're going to get Seb involved as well. We'll treat Seb to a little game as well. Oh. The last three times we've played Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup at Nottingham Forest, we have conceded 3 goals. The last 2 times we played, we've lost 3-0. And the more historic of the 3, Dave, you were saying is one of your favourite ever Ipswich Town matches, a 3-3 draw. Before we get to that, hold your horses, Dave. I know what you like.
No, I'm not.
January the 4th, 1997 was the last time we played Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup at Nottingham Forest. What was number 1, Seb?
January 1997.
Girl group.
Go All Saints.
No, the other one.
Spice Girls.
Correct. And the song title had 2 numbers in it.
To Become One.
Brilliant.
Oh,
my
Sam,
God. Oh, Dave.
Bow to your Spice Girls knowledge.
In terms of the
Something to be proud of, is it? Let's be honest.
In terms of the programme, Dave, the cover star was a guy who's now far more famous for having a famous son. Nottingham Forest, late 90s.
Was Haaland playing for him? He was.
Was it Evan Haaland? Yep. Getting injured by a player. That was a sign of things to come. And who was the manager of Nottingham Forest at the time? Throw it out to you, both.
Bassett?
Joe Kinnear, was it?
It was a player manager. Stuart Pearce was the player manager of Nottingham Forest. Really? Yep. Temporarily, I believe. So that's the last time we played them. They beat us 3-0. the time before that, they beat us 3-0. January the 7th, 1989, number 1 in the charts. 2 actors from an Australian soap opera.
It's got to be surely it's neighbours then. Kylie and Jason, surely.
Correct.
Must be.
Song, Seb?
Especially for you.
Very good. Yeah.
Right on
that was a school disco favourite. End of the night shoe shuffling at 13 years old. And front of the programme, Dave, a guy who had links with both Manchester United, funnily enough, and Forest, and was latterly a postman.
I was going to say Roy Keane, but I can't remember him becoming a postman. Neil Webb.
Neil Webb, very good, nice one. And finally, just for you, Dave, 3-3.
Yeah.
March 1981.
Oh, number 1.
What was number 1 in the chart? This is slap bang in your wheelhouse.
It's my sweet spot. Do you know what? That was round about the time of Vienna and Joe Dolce. That was round about the time of. So I'd almost say, obviously Vienna wasn't number 1. So I'd perhaps go for either Joe Dolce around about that time, Adam Ant, Shakin' Stevens.
You pretty much named the top 5 there, haven't you? It was "Shut Up Your Face" by the Joe Dolce Music Theatre, the most successful Australian-produced single of all time.
That's true. That was on Top of the Pops. That was on a BBC 4 Top of the Pops rewind the other week, actually.
And as you say, famously kept Vienna off of number 1 for 2 or 3
the game
weeks.
itself, the 3-3 games. Yeah, as I said, Collins just referred to it there through the guys. Yeah, one of the best Ipswich games I've ever been to. Some comedy goals. I think we scored. There was Paul Mariner scores one quite early from a Viv Anderson back pass. Then Viv Anderson scores an own goal, sort of heads it in the far corner, and then Trevor Francis for the next half an hour of that half, just. I know Ben hates that word. Is literally unplayable. He's absolutely rips us apart. I think we go in 2-2. I don't think he scores, but he's probably got a couple of assists. We go in 2-2, and then they get a penalty, I think, and then we get, as we did back in those days, everything going for us. Tyson scored the biggest deflection ever with about 10 minutes to go, and we get the replay at Portman Road and famously win 1-0 with a Arnold Muren volley. But yeah, that was just up there with some of the what a game. Probably, I don't know many in that day. 35,000 in the City Ground, European champions. Yeah, incredible. Yeah, good times. And that was, I think, that was the end of the week where we'd played Coventry the previous Saturday and won 4-0 at Coventry. We'd then gone to St Etienne midweek and won 4-1. And then the next Saturday, I think, was the 3-3 game at. Just ridiculous, really. But yeah, good times, good memories.
Brilliant. See, Lee wants to talk about last season. We don't need to talk about last season, Lee. We can talk about season 1980, 1981 and just hand over to Dave and let him just crack on for half an hour. But hopefully there'll be similar load of old rubbish on the next Blue Monday Rewind show when we've got one to talk about. We probably won't do Crystal Palace because there isn't an awful lot to talk about in Crystal Palace away games, but certainly not in the Premier League, there isn't, but we'll be heading your way very shortly after that, I'm sure.
We could talk about how difficult it is to park there. It's horrendous.
If you wish. What we do need to do, though, is hand over to Seb so he can talk a little bit about Nottingham Forest and give us a little preview snapshot. Do we go strong? What do we do? Do they go strong? What we'll do for you, Seb, is I'll get the league table up again. I did briefly flick it up so you can just sort of talk about where they're at and how they've been doing recently.
It's a lightning in a bottle season for them so far, isn't it? Third with 48 points. They're 4 points clear of, if we assume the top 5 are going to get Champions League, it's looking like England will get that 5th spot for Champions League football. So they're 4 points clear of Newcastle in 6th. As you can see, they're played 27, won 14 games, drawn 6, lost 7, 44 goals scored, 33 goals conceded. Not coming into the game on the greatest run of form. 1 win in the last 5. That was a 7-0 victory over Brighton, however. 1 draw last night as we were at Old Trafford. They were drawing 0-0 with Arsenal. And 3 defeats, Newcastle, Fulham and Bournemouth. Their record at the City Ground is also very strong. 25 points taken there so far this season. Only lost 2 games at home so far. I think it was Newcastle and I can't remember who the team was. But very, very strong at home. The joint fewest goals conceded along with Liverpool and Bournemouth for games played at home, undefeated in their last 5. Brighton, Southampton and Spurs have all been dispatched. Victories for Forest, 2 draws, Arsenal and Liverpool. In terms of the FA Cup and how they've got to this stage, the third round was a 2-0 victory over Luton at the City Ground. They changed massively. They have very heavy rotation for these games. They made 11 changes for that one. It sounds like a 2-0 kind of run-of-the-mill type game, but Luton had a few chances. I think the Forest keeper actually did get man of the match, which he certainly didn't get for the Exeter game in the 4th round. That was a 4-2 penalty shootout after a 2-2 draw after extra time. Exeter down to 10 men late on in the game and played the whole of the extra time period. A man down. Again, 10 changes were made for that game from the previous league outing. So look, they've clearly got much bigger eyes on the prize in terms of their league place. I would expect them to make a heavy rotation again, but it is a 3rd year Premier League side, so heavy rotation still does mean, some top class players and some players coming back from injury kind of featuring. Obviously, we went there in November time, wasn't it? The 1-0 defeat with the Chris Wood penalty, and we saw the likes of Elanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi and the very strong centre halves Milenkovic and Morello. It's likely they will make wholesale changes, but that will mean the likes of Willy Bolly, very experienced at this level, he'll probably get a game. Morato, the other Brazilian centre half, will probably get a game. The likes of, was it 30 million quid they spent on Sanga in central midfield, who's been injured. Danielo's been injured, coming back from injury. These kind of players will all feature. So obviously, it's going to be difficult. Our last victory there was the 1-0 Matt Holland goal just before Christmas, was it? 1999 in the promotion season. And I guess, like you said, how do we go about this game? We know how Forest play. It's a 4-2-3-1. They will perfectly happy for the side to have the ball. They won't. They're bottom of most of the possession stats. They're bottom of most of the accurate kind of passing stats. They'll simply sit there and they will look to hit you with speed on the counter when they win the ball. Very defensively solid. I think they're 2nd in the league for clean sheets so far this year. So are we at the stage now, obviously for the first 2 games for Bristol City and for Coventry, we again made wholesale changes a bit like they did. Is it a game for the squad players? Will we see Wolfenden, Burgess, Townsend, Godfrey, etc., or to get a bit of confidence and maybe try and instill some positivity in the first team? Do you think it'll be more of a kind of a hybrid side? What would you do? And then what would you do? And then what do you think McKenna will do?
It's interesting, isn't it, Dave? Because as Seb was sort of talking there and referring to heavy rotation, and I stuck the league table up, you would think actually, of all the teams that are now in the FA Cup, is Nottingham Forest maybe the one you want to play, because they've actually got something something they've never done before. Champions League football is within their grasp. Incredible. Do they rest everyone and maybe a couple more and give us half a chance of getting a result?
I think Seb's right. I think they're still, whoever they rest, they're still going to have a decent side. They're now 3 years. That's what we've said. Passing the pod, 3 years, 3 years worth of transfer windows. They're going, really, really strong squad. What an unbelievable season they're having. I mean, to be fair, against Exeter, I watched that game and they did actually bring on the big guns. They brought on Gibbs White. I think they brought on Anderson as well. Gibbs White's class.
Wood came on, didn't he?
Wood came on, scored in the shootout, didn't he? Yeah.
Gibbs White's very good, and he really good player. I like him a lot. It's. I was going to just have a bit of a laugh and say, Seb, he's frightened us. I much prefer when you used to talk about Cheltenham and Fleetwood, mate. It was weren't half so frightening, but unbelievable season. And the coach is spot on. Always liked him. I liked him at Wolves. As I thought he got treated appallingly at Spurs, probably. Just a sound coach. And you're right, you described it as lightning in a bottle, just having an unbelievable season. And I'd love to see them get. Well, how good would it be to see a team like that get in the Champions League? Absolutely brilliant. I hope they really, really hope they do. But let's hope they rest a few on Monday and gives us a better chance. As far as we're
just a quick one there, Dave. Sorry, Dave. Just a quick one. Lee said here, hoping they put their B tram out. I don't know if he's got the Nottingham public transport on the brain there, but
is that another sort of view of parking the bus? Is it? I don't know, but it's I think Seb. You're right. I'm sure you'd think Palmer would stay in goal. I'd like to think he'll stay in goal, and I think you probably will see Wolfenden and Wolfenden and Burgess back, perhaps a game too late. Anyway, yeah, and I mean Hurst. You think Hurst will start, and yeah. So I think whether even the team we put out against Coventry, when you look at it on paper, was a decent enough, strong enough team. So yeah, hopefully that's what we get a bit. I'm going to say it. We get a bit of both. Them not going quite so strong, and us, yes, bit half and half.
Yeah, but I suppose it is difficult, as you sort of say, Seb, and as some of the points here is, can we take some momentum from a result against Forest into the league? It could be too late, John. I hate to say on the comment on the screen there, saying that we can take some confidence into remaining league fixtures, but it is interesting. Do we use it as a chance? We still can make something of this season if we were to get a result at Forest and see what happens. We're only a game then away from Wembley, aren't we? But by the same token, as we saw yesterday before the match, Connor Chaplin was doing a pretty vigorous warm up along with Burgess. So you'd have thought he's not a million miles away. Maybe is he fit to start? Possibly not. But you would have thought Smodic has got another week. Certainly another few days to get fit. Is he fit to start? I must admit, I'm probably a little bit concerned about a centre midfield of potentially Taylor and Luongo. Maybe I presume Morsey was taken off yesterday more for a fitness situation.
We're not going to see Hutchison. Unlikely he's going to be risked for that, are we? No,
he left on crutches apparently, didn't he, last night?
Did he?
Apparently so. Yeah.
I mean, he looked like just purely an impact injury, but yeah, nasty. Yeah, again, we some said in the chat there. Yeah, his leg at a slightly different angle. That's a leg break, isn't it? Absolute leg break, that one. So you won't be seeing him. But no, I think at Coventry, I thought it was decent enough. I know it's different class of opposition, but a decent enough side we put out. I'll be happy with a side along those lines, I think.
Yeah. As Lee says here, he'd take a point right now. To be honest, I think we probably all would at the moment. So yeah, an intriguing situation coming up at the weekend. As I say, the guys will talk about it. Ben will be talking about it live as it happens on Monday. Anything else from you guys you want to talk about? I say we've done yesterday to death. I think we've given the Forest game as much as we possibly can. In terms of the lineups, we don't really know. We were hoping that we'll go strong, as Colin was saying there in one of the comments. Hopefully we go strong, give ourselves a chance to get into the quarter-final. At least we'll be in the quarter-final draw, regardless, it being done on Saturday afternoon, as one of the guys was pointing out.
I think probably one thing's to mention, I see Leicester losing 2-0. That's good, because obviously we need to desperately hold on to 18th place when Man City get the 100 million point deduction. We need to be hanging around that 18th place, don't we?
It would just be typical us, wouldn't it? They'll get a points deduction, and we're
just
finished.
Leicester go above us on goal difference.
We're 19th on goal difference. Yeah, it'd be sod's law, wouldn't it?
Brilliant stuff. Yeah. Well, on that happy note, we shall knock it on the head for this evening. Thank you very, very much, everyone, for getting involved in the chat. Thank you to Seb for your input from yesterday, and also your Nottingham Forest research and your Spice Girls knowledge. David, thank you very much. I will no doubt happen across you again at a Rewind show in the very near future.
Sure we will.
Wonderful. This has been Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. We shall see you next time.